You are watching Luntha television and instant news. My name is Robert. First, let's have a look at our top stories.
Catholic Church leader Pope Francis appeals for peace in war nations. Experts express divergent opinions on Chakwera's travels. Meteorological services forecast heavy rains this week, and in news from elsewhere, dozens dead and thousands trapped in Somalia's worst floods in decades.
We have these and more other stories to stay tuned in. Appealing for action and prayers for all people suffering the consequences of war, Pope Francis invokes a just peace and reiterates his belief that war is always a defeat. He made the appeal during his weekly address earlier today at the Vatican. The Pope was specifically referring his appeal to the countries of Ukraine and Israel. We have the details.
Francis told people that they should not forget matters of Ukraine and also think of Palestinian and Israeli peoples and pray that the Lord may bring a just peace. As he neared the end of his weekly general audience, the Pope said there is so much suffering, citing the children, the sick, and that many young people are dying. Pope Francis has made constant appeals for peace and for negotiated solutions to conflicts across the world, never neglecting to mention and to pray for those suffering from violence and displacement in Ukraine since the Russian invasion over 18 months ago. He has also made reiterated appeals for a ceasefire, for the release of hostages, and for the entry of humanitarian aid into the besieged Gaza Strip since the beginning of violent hostilities between Hamas and Israel on 7 October 2023.
Governance experts are having crushing opinions on the significance of the President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera's frequent travels, including the recent Saudi Arabia and Africa Summit and Afreximbank Trade Fair. Chakwera has left for Arab Emirates to attend the Saudi Arabia and Africa Summit before flying to Egypt for an Afreximbank Trade Fair. However, renowned rights activist Ndule Magasungula backs the president's travels, while Wanda Fumkuche thinks the frequency is portraying a bad image to the presidency, arguing that such events can be delegated. Robert Edward reports.
Malawians have yesterday been given a reason again to brace for more expression of misgivings on President Chakwera's frequent travels, both within and abroad, despite others arguing some are unnecessary travels which could be delegated to either the vice president or cabinet minister, in agreement that the president travels often involve a lot of resources. Good governance expert Wanda Funkuche is of the view that Chakwera's frequent travels are painting a gloomy picture to the highest seat of the land, arguing he could have delegated his vice or minister.
But in some of these travels, the reasons are not enough for the whole president to be there. He could have delegated the ministers or even the principal secretaries to do the job, as he remains behind to take care of other domestic business.
But another rights and governance expert, Ndule Magasungura, sees the presidential trips to be of benefit to Malawians. Confirmed reports have emerged that one of the events which President Chakwera was scheduled to attend in the Saudi Arabia has been cancelled due to Hamas-Israel war, but government maintains that Malawi leader will still proceed to the other meetings. According to government spokesperson Moses Kunkuyu, the president has been accompanied by not less than 70 delegates to the Afreximbank Trade Fair, which has been assisted by development partners and private sector. For Luntha, this is Robert Edward.
Former President and main opposition Democratic Progressive Party leader Peter Mutharika has cancelled his political rally that was scheduled for this Sunday at Masinta Ground in Lilongwe. DPP spokesperson Shadrack Namalomba says the rally has been postponed until further notice to allow the party members to join all Malawians in commemorating Mutharika left the country last week through Chileka International Airport in Luntha on a private trip accompanied by former First Lady Gertrude Mutharika, but details of their trip have remained confidential. Today it is reported that Mutharika made former soldiers at his page house in Mangwachi district. You're still watching news right here on Luntha television and on our various social media platforms. Now, do stick around as we'll be back shortly after the break.
Wow, hi Nancy. Wow, how are you?
I'm good, and how are you?
But how have you managed to, to have this beautiful and well-stocked shop, Nancy?
My friend, these things don't come on a silver platter.
Tell me about it.
You need to invest. I had to grow my money. I grew every single penny that I made out of my monthly savings. You know what? Sometimes you don't just have to use all the money that you get. You really need to make an investment. So, yeah, this is it.
But where do I start? I get so little money and I'm thinking that, is it possible to reach this far?
My friend, it doesn't mean that you should have all the money in the world. Come on. You can save even the little money that you get each month. There are so many ways of making an investment.
Really?
Yes, this could be investing in financial assets. You can make a fixed and savings deposits with commercial banks. You can buy an insurance policy. You can invest in treasury bills. You can also invest in physical assets like commodities or property.
Make a decision today. Invest your money to accomplish your goals.
Welcome back. Now let's have a look at our top stories once more before we proceed.
Catholic Church leader Pope Francis appeals for peace in war nations. Experts express divergent opinions on Chakwera's travels. Meteorological services forecast heavy rains this week, and in news from elsewhere, dozens dead and thousands trapped in Somalia's worst floods in decades.
Moving on, a coalition of organizations that look into rights of persons with disability has asked a government under the leadership of President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera to ratify the African Disability Protocol, which Malawi signed in February 2022. The protocol, among others, complements the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. The organizations believe that the ratification of a PDA will assist largely in addressing the rights of persons with disabilities from the African context. Jacqueline Saidi reports.
The organizations say if Malawi fails to ratify the protocol, essential disability services can be sidelined, leading to neglect and suffering of persons with disability within government programs, including the Malawi 2063 Development Agenda. The coalition includes Disability, HIV and AIDS Trust and Association of Persons with Albinism in Malawi, FEDOMA, Site Savers and Equal World. In an interview, Executive Director for Disability, HIV and AIDS Trust, David Njaidi, said the protocol complements the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities in addressing issues surrounding disability in Africa.
The Africa Disability Protocol is complementing the UNCRPD because it is addressing issues that are specific to Africa because of the uniqueness of Africa in terms of its customs, beliefs, culture, and so on. So African heads of states agreed to have a specific protocol that will address disability issues in the African context.
The national coordinator for the Association of Persons with Albinism, Maynard Zagaria, who was also present during the engagement, indicated that as there are a number of challenges facing the disability, there is need for collaboration not just on the national level, but internationally through the ADP, as some of the challenges are similar in different African nations.
Because these issues are affecting several countries, ratification of the African Disability Protocol, I look at it as a solution to some of these challenges because one, there will be, information sharing. People will be able to share information and knowledge on how best we can, handle these issues.
The African Disability Protocol, ADP, is a human rights treaty that addresses forms of discrimination affecting people with disabilities living in African countries, including harmful practices, beliefs, and superstitions. For Luntha Television News, this is Jacqueline Saidi.
The Department of Climate Change and Meteorological Service has warned of heavy rains in the southern part of Malawi. A statement from the department dated November 8, 2023, we have seen, says there will be heavy rains coupled with lightning and thunderstorms. The development comes amid fears that Malawi might be hit by El Nino, which scientists project it will emanate from the Indian Ocean. Emmanuel Chiosha reports.
The Department of Meteorological Services did not indicate in a statement if this is part of El Nino winds. It rather indicates that heavy rains will also be coupled with strong winds starting from Wednesday, November 8th, 2023. In an interview, Met Director Luntha said the rains will be as a result of strong winds and the hot weather condition. According to today's weather forecast, Malawi is currently in its hot season, but drawing closer to onset of the rainy season. The southern region has already started experiencing heavy rains on and off, with a few damages to crops reported in Mulanje. The El Nino Southern Oscillation, ENSO, is the most important driver of the climate variability in Malawi. Even though El Nino occurrences are predicted to increase in frequency, the government of Malawi actions are inadequate as disaster management is largely reactive than proactive. For Luntha TV, this is Emmanuel Chiosha.
Reportedly refused to train for 2 days now. Some senior players have confided in us that they would only resume training after getting their salaries for October. The central bankers are already out of the TNM Super League title race this season, but are still in the Airtel Top 8 and the Castillo Challenge Cup. News from elsewhere: Somalis are struggling to cope with never before seen flooding that has killed dozens of people and forced hundreds of thousands to abandon their homes in the wake of the extreme rainfall that has engulfed much of East Africa. Following days of heavy torrents, at least 29 people have been killed and more than 300,000 have fled their homes for safety. Somali's national disaster.
The phenomenon has sparked turmoil in neighboring states Kenya and Ethiopia. In Kenya, torrential downpours over the weekend killed more than 1,000 lives are also reportedly displaced in the Somali region of Ethiopia due to ongoing flooding. Scientists say climate change is causing more intense and frequent extreme weather events, with the Horn of Africa especially vulnerable.
That item also wraps up our today's news bulletin, but before we go, a reminder of our top stories.
Catholic Church leader Pope Francis appeals for peace in war nations. Experts express divergent opinions on Chakwera's travels. Meteorological services forecast heavy rains this week, and in news from elsewhere, dozens dead and thousands trapped in Somali's worst floods in decades.
My name is Helbert Kacha, and thanks for watching, and it's goodbye for now.